What do you think that you should have known at that time what you know today?
Getting hired is finding a fit.
Something like personal brand didn't exist. I'm so happy to have you join us for our first ever episode of Journey to the Job.
I'm the guinea pig, I can see.
Yes. But we are very happy to have you here. So I'm going to start with the first question,
Let's go.
which is, what was your first ever role? And you can expand on it even if it was an internship.
So my first ever job was when I was still in school. It was selling fountain pens, and then after that, I was selling tickets to a New Year, like a New Year's bash. You know, like
Yeah.
I forget the name, but it was like one of these like something blast.
Yeah.
2000 whatever. So selling New Year's tickets and then selling fountain pens to schools.
Yeah.
It's like hardcore sales. I think so. Good learning in
sales.
what was going to be the rest of my life.
Did people attend that bash?
I don't know. I didn't go to it. I thought it was a terrible I didn't think it was a very exciting party, so I didn't go. But my first full-time job was working as a coder, like a developer. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. There were, I was doing it with a bunch of friends of mine who were also joining at the same time. So we had a lot of fun in working for a big company and having no idea what needs to be done, and made a lot of mistakes and had a lot of fun.
What was job searching like back then?
Oh man, I think job searching is so painful. It's such a humbling process in many ways, because at different stages of your life, you're operating with different levels of confidence. So when you're early in your career, it's sort of, you're still uncertain about what you want to do, what's out there. It's a bit of a lottery.
Correct.
But later in your career, when you're a little bit more confident, and sometimes a bit more of a false sense of confidence as well, if you think, you're the bomb. The process is extremely humbling, because you're not going to get the job that you want in many cases. And but yeah, job search for me, I remember graduating out of business school and just waiting like 11 months in between interviews and callbacks, and try to, every interview was like, okay, I did it, and then the next day they're like, oh, you didn't get selected. Sort of going through that ups and downs of, but it was also during the recession, so the job market was terrible.
Yeah.
But that said, I did a couple of interesting things. I traveled a lot when I was, I think that was fantastic. But I also did, I know the longest period of job search that I mentioned, 11 months, I made a short film, which I ended up doing, I sent it along on the short film circuit, and it was fantastic. I did 2 jobs, like 2 internships pro bono, very much like what you were talking about earlier. And got to do things that I would never do.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I actually had a lot of fun. That was actually the only time that I ever searched for a job. And then after that, I've never.
And after that, it's just been.
After that, I realized that I'm not going to go through that process of trying to find a job again. So I'm going to just try and start a business that I can be my first employee and not have to get hired.
Yeah. Subtle product plug in there. Yeah.
How was your job search like?
My job search back when I started.
Yeah.
I think it was a lot of, and at that time, I think there were certain online portals that would take our resume, but it was very difficult to trust the process at that time. So at that time, it was a lot about hoping that a friend will get in somewhere and they will never you. So you had to sit with bated breath and do that. And sometimes, and I have done this, just land, and this is back when I was trying to start my career in a very large MNC, just landed up with my resume and asked for the department head if he has 5 minutes to meet me.
Wow.
And I've done that.
Very cool. Very enterprising. Did you get the job?
I did not.
But 100 points for trying.
But he met me, and luckily I got referred to another MNC, maybe through him, I don't know, hopefully. And I got my internship there then.
Nice.
I actually had to hear criticism on my resume from him.
Well,
but it was needed. It was absolutely needed. I'm very thankful. What I wanted to also ask you was, did you ever get to do, circling and everything on classifieds? Did that ever happen?
Oh, man, I'm not that old.
But it's still in printing,
What job?
Classifieds,
what
yeah.
jobs?
We still get classifieds. Like, we don't get it at home, but it's still there.
No, I didn't do that, but I do remember with like placements in out of engineering college, where you would get the lists of companies coming in, and you kind of circle and say which is the session that I want to attend and what's my dream company, and so I did all of that.
Yeah.
Go and sit and sit in front and ask the intelligent questions so that you'll get noticed. All of that I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was no AI also to tell us which ones are the intelligent questions.
Yeah, correct.
That time there wasn't.
I think the part of this that I never really understood was and then later again the idea of placements changed. It's more like curated network sessions, and everyone shows up with their business card, and you got to do that small talk. I was so good at that.
So back then, I think when you were starting out, and of course I've seen your I've seen your career journey as well, up until, of course, I've joined you here at Talent 500 and Answer. But before that, right, when you were at, say, other companies, and at that time when you hadn't started your own thing, and I'm sure that while you were at the other companies, when you were interviewing for those roles, or you were interviewing other people for other roles, right, while you grew into leadership positions, what do you think that you should have known at that time what you know today?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think it's so much about landing an opportunity or a job is about what happens before you apply and how you go through the application process, what happens after you apply. And I would always assume that applying for a job is about, applying online or sending your resume out or whatever to a friend who is. But what I didn't realize is that there are so many other ways to increase your chances. So, for example, connecting with people who are working there, kind of the stuff you did.
Yeah.
You just have to maximize your chances of being seen.
Right.
You want to land in front of the person who's making the decision and know that person is going to be flooded. If it's a great company and a great opportunity, that person's going to be flooded with other people like you.
Yeah.
So you just have to be smarter in making sure that you can get in front of them faster than anyone else. And if you can do that, that's half the battle. And then from there, obviously, you need to be good at what you do and be able to communicate what you can say.
Yeah.
Prepping for interviews and knowing how to do well in an interview is also something I wish I had been coached or taught or spent more time on. Just the idea of how do you answer questions in a manner that is clear and positions you well. Asking the right question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there weren't as many tutorials back then.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was starting out, I knew I had to go and I had to wear formals and land up.
Yeah.
But what type of formals, right? I mean, something as small as that. And usually you will be able to advise that very objectively to somebody else.
Yeah.
But when you're in that position, it's just all systems shut down.
Yeah.
You're just ready to answer the questions of the interview, but you might not be ready with the fact that you need soft skills.
Yeah.
I think that learning kind of comes in later.
Yeah.
Right? How do interviews have changed? Do you think the process of somebody interviewing somebody has changed?
I don't think it's changed too much. At the end of the day, hiring somebody or finding a job is people to people.
Yeah.
People decision made for people and by people.
Yeah.
I don't think that changes. I think a hiring decision is always going to be made with two people sitting across the table. And I mean, we've got products that use AI today to simplify recruiting.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, we need somebody sitting across the table to say, yes, this person is a great fit. That's not going away. So I don't think that part of it has changed. Of course, the process has become a lot more efficient. Today you can use a lot of tools and systems to help you make better decisions and so on.
That's true.
But at the end of the day, the core fundamental idea of getting hired is finding a fit where you belong and where the company thinks that you belong in. And that's what it's about.